Hello and welcome to another episode of the It's Just a Hill Cycling Podcast. Yes, I'm wearing the same clothes. Brian is not from the last episode, but
I went home and changed.
Brian went home and changed, yeah. Or just on a different day.
Yeah, we filmed it a week apart.
Yeah, it's a different day. It's coming out on a different time, so it's at a different day.
Yeah. It's almost like we know what we're doing.
Yeah. So we sort of teased this in the last episode of the podcast. This is a podcast about bikes. It's a cycling podcast. I'm John. This is Brian. And we talked about this. We alluded to this, but rules of the fucking road.
Rules of the fucking road.
This is another thing that you added to the notes. That's exactly how you wrote it. Rules of the fucking road. And then you put, and bike path.
Oh, wow. I must have been worked up.
Yeah. What were you worked up about? Can you elaborate on this? What do you mean rules of the road? Like just follow the rules of the road? You talking about cyclists? You talking about drivers?
Cyclists, drivers, walkers. Okay. Runners.
Yeah.
You know.
What is the biggest offense? What's the first thing that comes to your mind that people aren't doing correctly?
Walking and running on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of too, actually.
Really gets my goat.
Really?
Oh. Kills me.
Why? Because they can't see you coming up behind them?
Yeah, that's one of the aspects.
That's really the biggest aspect, I think.
Yeah. Well, because then if someone's walking on the wrong side of the road and you're walking on the correct side of the road, one of you has to go around the other.
True.
Who's going to yield?
Not that.
I'm not yielding.
Why not?
Because I'm in the right.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's the rule that I live by.
That's fair.
When I'm either walking my dog or whatever. Yeah. But then also riding a bike on the wrong side of the road or on the sidewalks.
Riding
like a
bikes on
very
sidewalks.
Congested area.
Only children should be riding Walmart bikes on sidewalks.
Yes.
Right?
And that's an exception that I'll give to, say, people riding a bike, say on the bike path on the wrong side or something like that. No. Where like if it's a family,
bike path, there are clear rules.
No, but if it's a family that's someone's walking and there's a kid on a bike,
fine.
That's exemption. That's exemption.
Whatever.
I won't even give it a second thought. Like I won't get worked up about that.
I agree.
They found a technicality.
They found it.
Maybe they got a kid on a scooter. They got another one on some roller skates.
Yeah.
They got another one on a bike with training wheels, and they're walking.
Yeah, no, go walking.
That's technicality.
They're all walking.
Go for it.
Yeah. I love that technicality.
And I do know that in other states, like not every state has the same bike path rules either for like which sides to be on.
Really?
But in Rhode Island, and at least all of the bike paths I've been on, elsewhere as well,
the same.
It's the same as the rules of the road.
Yeah, walk on the left, bike on the right.
And then I also think, all right, let's say you're driving. You come up to an intersection.
Yep. I come up to an intersection.
You come up to an intersection. Let's just say, for example, you're going to take a right.
Okay.
So you're mainly only looking left. You're not crossing traffic, so you're not really worried about both sides as much. You're only worried about the left side, so you can get into traffic.
I see where you're going with this.
So what if someone's riding a bike on the wrong side of the road, and then you end up hitting them because maybe you didn't look, but at the same time, you didn't exactly have to look.
Well, I mean, you still should look, but
you should probably look. But I just mean like,
you're right.
What the fuck?
Wow, I love this. You're all fired up about the rules of the fucking road.
I get so fired up about this. I don't want to, but I do.
What do you think about?
Yeah, it just kills me because then also, especially, and I think it's on my mind a lot because of where I live and how often I'm on the bike path near my house and how often I used to ride my bike on the bike path. And it's just like, if you're walking or running on the right side of the road, you can't see who's coming up behind you. And it happens so often on the bike path. If someone's walking on the right, and then they're just out of nowhere, just like, oh, I'm just going to like drift to the left a little bit. And like, sure, if we're coming up and we're going to pass them, we should let them know we're coming up. But at the same time, it's just like, now I have to go out of my way to be cautious about you because you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, true.
If you were just on the left side, we could have had the correct interaction and no one has to worry about anything.
Yeah, true.
And that really pisses me off.
But so it sort of seems a little bit specific because you're doing riding on the bike path.
But
I mean, it is common. It's a common place for people to ride.
To have to let someone know you're coming around them to pass them, that is specific to the bike path.
Yeah.
But the annoyances and the potential hazards of walking or running on the wrong side of the road and biking on the wrong side of the road are still all the same.
True.
I know someone, and I mentioned it before in this podcast, someone that got in a cycling accident with someone in another country because they were riding on the wrong side of the road and they came around a corner and this person was off their bike for like a year or something.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah.
Because someone was just riding their bike on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, but do you think that's somewhat of a... I mean, it's obviously like negligence, right? It happened because of negligence. But do you think that's somewhat of a rare occasion?
Sure.
Not to say that people can't be more aware.
Yeah, I mean, in their case, that's
and
definitely
can know
a
the
rare
rules.
occurrence.
You know what I mean? But like, yeah, like when I think the bike path is one of the biggest things for this to be clear on.
Definitely.
Because it is, even though it is made for everyone but cars, right? Like you said, you're going to get families out there walking, scooters, rollerblades, bikes. There does need to be a cohesion, right? I don't live close to a bike path. I know for you, it's like a convenient artery for you to like start or end your rides. It's really close to you. You live in a little bit more of a developed area. So to have a well-protected place to ride is important, like in that area,
Yeah.
Not that it isn't important for me, but I just live in the middle of nowhere. There's just not as many cars.
Yeah.
I also think that, and I am no way accusing you of this because I don't think you're this person, but there are people that like go out and do intervals on the bike path, and that's like dumb as hell.
No, I absolutely would never do that.
You don't do that. No. And I think that's why I said like you use it as an artery to beginning and start your end your rides and
very convenient artery.
Yeah. I mean, or just to do a recovery ride or whatever,
absolutely.
Spend time with your wife on the bike, however it works, right? It's not that it isn't for you or isn't for us, right? It's for everyone. But I almost think that's one of the most important places because you are going to just experience so many other types of pedestrians. Because I think, normally I wouldn't call myself a pedestrian as a cyclist. I'm a cyclist, right? Like when I'm out on the road, I'm not really behaving like someone using crosswalks and stuff like that.
No, we're not.
But on the bike path, right? On the bike path, you're a little bit more of a pedestrian, I think. Because of the environment of the bike path, right? I mean, obviously you're not on 2 feet, right? I think that's what a pedestrian is, right?
Yeah.
Someone commuting on 2 feet.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is like the willingness for more non-motorist like agreement on something like a bike path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you said, it can get dangerous. Someone's not looking. They're
very dangerous.
They're walking on one side, their dog's on a leash walking on the other side. So you basically have like a leash across the bike path. Like I've seen that happen more than once. Yeah. No dogs not on leashes. Which, You know what I mean? There's all that sort of stuff.
It's enough for me to decide not to go on it sometimes. Yeah. Where like I don't feel like getting myself worked up right now.
Right.
So I'm just gonna walk somewhere else.
Right. Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
And so as cyclists, right, I mean, this is something that we alluded to in the last episode, but like we can make sure that when we're on bike paths, we're not hammering doing 25 miles an hour around like a family, right? That's like, trying to teach their kid how to ride a bike because they don't think that's good for anyone. But also to be like, making sure you are saying like, hey, on your left, that's like a very common thing. If you're riding, you're just riding at a different pace than someone else, not necessarily hammering, but like you're just going to pass them, hey, on your left.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Same thing with like someone walking,
Yep.
It is,
I was also just on a ride recently with a couple other cyclists and we were on the bike path for a stretch and, when we were coming up to pass somebody, they would say, X amount coming up on your left.
Oh,
so they
3
know
riders.
It'd be like 3 on your left or something like that. Yeah. And I think that's quick and concise. It's easy enough.
Yeah.
That could be a good thing too, but just at least acknowledging that you're coming up.
Peloton on your left. and 90 riders come flying by.
What on my left? And then they turn around and look and then go into you.
I've had that even happen just when I say on your left.
Oh yeah, they
like
startled.
jump to their left.
Yeah,
It's not.
It's true.
I think a lot of it, boils down to like education, right? People need to be like, because you can say on your left, if someone doesn't know what you mean, then it's not going to be a productive thing to say, right? So I think there's some sort of like, wanting people to understand what that means. That's sort of hard. Like, how do you teach that to someone, without them like happening in real life? Like, oh, watch this YouTube video on like bike advocacy. You know what I mean? Like,
it'd be a short video.
Well, there's more things to it.
I know. I just pictured a video of
bike. Hey, welcome to the It's Just a Hill video about bike advocacy. Today, we're going to teach you about the phrase on your left. And then it like cuts to like someone like riding on a bike path and they're like, on your left. And then like the walker is like, who's on the right. They're just like, thanks. And it's like, this has been bike advocacy for It's Just a Hill. That's the whole video.
This video is about how to utilize the phrase on your left on the bike path.
Oh, okay. Was AI is doing the voiceover?
Well, your impression wasn't AI?
No, my impression was real human.
I would 100% use a real human voice.
Good, thank you.
That's another episode as well.
Okay.
Bike comes up along a walker and they go, on your right. And then we go, that was wrong. You said the wrong side.
Oh, okay. So you're really going to elaborate on doing things the wrong way too.
Well, I'm just picturing.
Here's what not to do.
If it was like an employee training video or something, it would be just
every cyclist needs to watch this video.
Actually, now it's turning into an SNL skit.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then you run into the cyclist and you run into the pedestrian and like you rip their arm off.
And it's Colin Jost.
And then it cuts and it's like, and that was the wrong thing to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. You're really leaning into this. That was the wrong thing to do thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't care.
It seems like scare tactics. Okay. Moving on.
Scare tactics. Like employee training videos where you see someone get like sucked into a machine or something.
Yeah.
Scary shit.
That's how we need to teach people how to enjoy the rules, obey the rules of the road.
Perhaps it is.
It's not. Okay. All right.
Maybe to scare people into the correct way is the only way at this point.
Anything else rules of the road wise that like really stand out to you that you see people not doing, or you see people thinking? I mean,
Well, we kind of talked a lot about specifics of the scenarios of on the bike path, but I also think it's also pretty common on the road, at least in my area, to pass a runner or walker on the wrong side of the road on a tight road. And we also live in congested area. So then now there's cars coming. And because they were on the wrong side of the road, now I need to go further into the traffic lane.
Sure.
As that car is passing me. And sure, you might be able, one could make the case, oh, well, that's a perfect storm scenario. Not really. It's happened to me a lot.
Oh,
frankly.
Sure, it happens. Yeah, it happens.
And what if there's another car coming by at the same time? That happens too.
Yeah.
But if that person that was walking or running, whatever, was on the correct side of the road, that means instead of us taking up so much space on one side, we would have been more equally split.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then that would have forced the cars to be like, oh, we got people on both sides, and now they're forced to like actually
that
think about
that you just did. We got.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's how people who drive cars look like. Yeah.
Where my car is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like, you're not really wrong though. People do overreact.
Yeah. So that's kind of some shit that gets my goat. What is that phrase? I probably shouldn't be using it. I don't even know what it means.
You think it's problematic?
I don't know what the origin of it is.
You think it's been canceled?
Maybe.
Gets my goat?
I don't want to be canceled.
I think actually it's back from Cain and Abel.
Oh, yeah?
Before Cain killed Abel, he stole his goat. Or did Abel kill Cain?
I don't know.
Neither of us went to Catholic school. Yeah.
Yeah. Neither of us.
Neither of us.
Oh, shit.
What do you mean? Oh, shit. I was ready to move on to the next thing.
I know. Yeah. I'm just going to keep working myself up, so.
All right. Let's talk you off a ledge a little bit. We are planning to ride our bikes after this. If you can't tell, the sun is setting. So that means we're going to ride our bikes a little bit later in the day. And I'm curious. Yes. Should I move the camera just so we can get a quick shot of the sun coming? I mean, it's still 4 hours from sunset.
No, it's beautiful. Sun's actually kind of almost out now.
Yeah, it's almost out. You were a little bit concerned that it was cold earlier.
Yeah.
And it's getting warmer.
I'm less concerned.
It says 63 now. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But riding time of day.
Oh, riding time of day.
You're surprised by it?
Did I come up with that one?
I love it. Yeah, you did. This is a good one. So do you have a preference? Have you thought about this? If not, I have a preference. I don't know if you could tell. I have a strong preference on a lot of things. I'm very opinionated. And what time of day of
I do
riding
have a preference.
is important to me.
Yes, absolutely.
What are your thoughts?
My preference is...
Yeah, knee-jerk preference. Go.
Knee-jerk preference is mid-morning. Mid to late morning.
10 a.m.?
Yeah, between 9:30 to 11:30.
Gotcha. That's when you're starting or that's when you're riding?
That's my general window
Of riding.
if I was doing a 2-hour ride.
Yeah.
Or 1 hour ride.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty across the board. Okay, interesting. For
What's
me,
your knee-jerk?
6 a.m.
Yeah?
On the bike every day, 6 a.m.
Wow.
Home by noon at the latest.
How come?
I feel like it sets my day off on the right path. I feel like
Do you make your bed too?
What?
Do
I make my bed?
your bed too?
Absolutely not. No, I do not make my bed. That is something for children, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Making your bed makes no fucking sense to me. Oh, the covers are straight instead of crumpled up a little bit.
What are you going to do with a made bed?
What do you mean?
You're just going to unmake it again.
Exactly. Maybe if I wasn't going to sleep in it for a year, I'm sleeping in it tomorrow night.
You're going out of town for a couple weeks.
I'm sleeping in it tonight.
Yeah.
You know? What the fuck do I got to make it for?
Your dog's going to jump in it and mess it all up anyway. Well, maybe not your
is.
dog, but
Well, he's not going to jump up onto the bed because he's
on it.
too short. But
yeah, one might.
yeah. So I don't know. I feel like this is what I wrote down. I would love to get up early and be on my bike every day at 6 a.m., home by noon, then be able to shower, take a nap, and have a productive rest of my day. That would be ideal. But that also means that like I need to be like locked into everything, because riding early in the morning can also make me too tired to do anything else the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That's like a very memeable thing, right? Like I'm going to get my ride done early so I have a productive rest of the day, and then you just like lay around all day because you had too hard of a ride. Obviously, if I'm riding from 6 a.m. to noon every day, that's just not sustainable. I would love to do that every day. That's not going to happen. You know, that I'm riding like 400 miles a week or something. You know what I mean?
400 hours.
400 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Or 42 hours. It would be 42 hours. 6 hours a day. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And
Too much.
that's way too much. But my schedule is sporadic, and it's hard for me to lock into that. Also, the weather here in Rhode Island, it gets in the way of that, right? You can't always ride at 6 a.m., especially like 6 months of the year. It's just like too cold.
Yeah,
or it could be icy or whatever. You know what I mean? So I guess that would be my ideal. I have had very productive days where I've like gotten up early, ridden a century, and been home by noon, and then still like been able to like, you know, work on something later in the day, or like spend time with my wife, or have like a well-rounded day.
Yeah,
instead of a day that's like just
It's an
bikes,
ideal day.
You know what I mean? But I don't really know.
If you can ride what you want to ride, when you want to ride it.
Yeah.
And then still have enough energy and time to do the other important things in the day.
Yeah. But it also means you need to be focused, right? You need to like time management needs to be right. You need to be making sure that your recovery's on point.
Yeah, you
right?
need to make sure you slept well the night before,
Yeah,
had
100%.
enough sleep, whatever. Food was on point.
Right.
Everything.
So it is a little bit, you got to be a little bit more dialed, I think, to do something
which
like
is pretty
that.
unsustainable.
I like the idea of it. No, I
repeatedly.
think it's sustainable. I think
But to do it every
harder.
day.
Yeah, it's harder. Yeah, for sure. And
It'll
I'm
be
not
a
just
lot-
talking the
lot
hours, but just like
harder.
the routine. of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I will say, my God, he's really providing a lot of sound effects for this episode. He's like coughing up something over there. He ate an ant at the end of the last episode.
Oh, maybe that's what he coughed up.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, Harry, come here. Harry, come here. Come on, you want to be on the podcast? Come on, come here. See, he doesn't even want to like. Come on, keep coming.
He's skeptical.
Come on up. All right, good boy. Okay, here he is. All right, yes, now that you just coughed that up. Yes, thank you. Okay, now, I did mention that we're going to be riding this afternoon. I don't really love riding in the afternoon. I don't really love riding in the evening. What are your thoughts on that?
I used to not really like it
Yep.
because one, I was worried about more cars, As well as I just was super used to riding in the morning, and I felt like I had a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if I rode in the evening or late afternoon or something like that, it just felt odd.
Yeah.
Like it was like
it's a different feeling.
My body is just like, what?
Your
what
body's
are you
fatigued
doing?
in a different way. Yeah.
This is like chill time.
Yeah.
But this year, and I think it's because I've been riding so much less, I've been really liking it. I think just because I've been focusing on different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've talked about in other podcasts, not going to rehash all that, but just like it's just been like a nice break for my mind.
Yeah.
And just getting out, getting the fresh air,
Mm-hmm.
being in nature. It's just been, this year's just been totally different for me. And it's really been nice to ride in the afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I'm very awake. I've probably already had a hopefully productive day.
Yeah.
And then now this is the unwind
Do you find yourself
portion of the day.
planning for it?
No, not really, actually.
So I think that would be my issue. Is that like I'd be like, oh, I know I want to ride today, right?
Yeah.
I know that like my recovery is good, and I want to ride, and
Yeah.
all day I'd be thinking about it, And there are certain circumstances where like it doesn't make sense to ride early in the morning, right? We talked about this before, but like because my schedule is sporadic. Generally on the days where I can ride, like days that I'm not like shooting something, I have sort of my pick of the day, right? Whereas days that I do work, I'm like tied up for like 12 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's either ride early or ride late, It doesn't make sense. Like there's no other option really.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I have like a day where I have all the time like that I want to ride, even though let's just say I'm like work from home, right? Like I can just pick an hour to ride, even if it's just for an hour. I would much rather pick in the morning because otherwise I'm like anxiously, I don't know, getting other things done. And then like, oh, like, I don't know, maybe I'm putting too much pressure on that ride, but I generally just enjoy riding in the morning. I think it, has a lot to do with that energy thing, I find fueling in the morning and then riding after to be easier than sort of like fueling.
I would definitely agree
day.
with that.
You know what I mean? Like
if you are going to ride, I find that when and that's harking back also to what you said about the planning of riding later in the day. I definitely do find it harder to plan to ride later in the day because there's so many other aspects of the day before that, and feeding is just also a massive aspect of that, and it's so easy to get off a schedule or have other things get in the way, and then you realize, oh, and then I skipped my lunch and ended up having lunch too late, or it's just like, well, now I'm too close to the ride, so I can't have the food that I was going to have, and I have to do something else. And sure, that's going to help me with fuel for an hour-long bike ride or the first hour of my bike ride, but then I'm going to be hungry, and then I'm going to get back from that ride and I'm going to be famished. And then I'm going to end up probably having something or like eating too much after, and it's going to be late.
Yeah, right.
And then
right. Too close to bed.
Then all of a sudden it sets off a chain of events, and it's just like, well, then I'm not going to sleep as well, and then the next day's ride is off.
Seems like you're spiraling, even just at the thought of it.
I'm spiraling.
Yeah, you are spiraling a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
But no, I think you sort of took what I said and like extrapolated on it, because it does make the day complicated in a different way, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you do plan on it, then it's like, a lot better, right? Like today, not to like have a peek behind the curtain, but like we plan to like record a couple episodes and then go ride our bikes because it's the day of the MBX shop ride. So like we're gonna ride later, and like I feel like I planned well for it, in terms of like how I ate and like
nice.
Normally, if I have something planned just for later in the day, no. I'm like, it's daunting no matter what it is. Something I prefer early morning appointments than afternoon appointments.
Oh, I agree with that.
In general, not just for riding. I mean, for anything. Yeah.
And you're making me think about this more too, about the planning versus not planning in regards to rides later in the day.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like when it's just like, I know I want to ride tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I know I'm going to ride in that day. And it's just kind of like things happen, and then at some point in the afternoon, I realize, I could get a ride in.
Yeah.
And then it's just like,
it feels nice.
And then, okay, it looks like I'm gonna be able to get a ride in 4 hours from now.
Yeah.
So then that's just motivation to like work hard, stay on track, get all my stuff done, and then I can have that
Yeah, that is
relaxation
nice.
period.
That's
And
how
it's
I
just
feel.
like, oh, now I'm out
Yeah.
here. I'm nice. It's nice out. I get my fresh air.
That's how I feel when it rains in the morning. Like you wake up and it's raining and you're like, shit, not gonna be able to ride. And then it clears up by like 2. You're like, all right, the roads are even dry.
Yeah.
Kind of also happened today, actually.
It happened today and last Thursday for
Yeah.
the MBX ride.
Yeah,
2 weeks
that's
in a
right.
row. It's almost exactly the same
That's
scenario.
right. That's right.
Wind opposite directions,
Yep, wind the opposite directions.
but
yeah, we're mostly going
Similar
east. We're
otherwise.
mostly going east to west. Mostly.
mostly.
Yeah. Except for the MBX ride part. Yeah. Because it goes down to Point Judith.
Yes.
Yeah. And everyone should go to that.
They should.
Yeah. Every Thursday.
Why would you not?
It rolls out at 6:15. I know on Strava it says 6. They don't allow you to
Yes.
do 15-minute increments on
Oh,
scheduling.
is that why?
You can only do 6 or 6:30. You can't
Oh,
pick
gotcha.
6:15. Now I can't put 6:30. Then people will be late.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to put 6. But in the write-up I put 6:15. But I know
Yes.
it's caused a little bit of confusion. So it does roll out everywhere it says 6:15.
yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
It is all right until you're the person who everyone asks.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
People ask me.
But you'd rather be there a few minutes early than a few minutes late.
Yeah, just show up a little bit early.
Because if you
know?
showed up late,
No, we're gonna. Well, you won't be
you
around.
ain't even gonna see the ride.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I think those are sort of my thoughts. I can be convinced to ride any time of day. Not
Yeah.
to promote another ride that
Yeah.
It's Just the Hills doing, but I'm gonna ride my bike overnight, and that I'm looking forward to because it's different. And like going to the NBX shop ride, I look forward to because But I guess if I had my druthers, which you don't really hear people say anymore. If I had my druthers, that's what Harry's thinking. If he had his druthers, he'd be out of this room. If I had my druthers, I'd ride early every single day. Yeah, that's just how I feel about it.
I think also about riding later in the day. For me, and even though I would always generally choose to ride earlier in the day,
Yep.
I feel very rushed because it's always mid work.
Right. You're getting a break in your day.
Most of the time,
Yeah.
you're riding on a day that you're not working,
Yeah.
or at least going to a shoot.
Yeah. Right.
But-
right.
For me, I was generally always working before and after my rides.
Right.
So
That can be
every time
stressful.
I was on the bike,
Yeah.
I was rushed.
Yeah, that is stressful. I've had that where I've had just like
Pray you
meetings.
don't get a flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
That like literally a 5 to 10 minute difference
Right.
would be a big deal right now. I need to get home
Right.
so that I can make it to this meeting.
Right.
Or just like keep working so that I then don't have to work later into the evening.
Yeah.
And that was always how it was. And then that would change the way I'd ride because then sometimes I would just ride harder than I needed to
Yeah.
because I just feel rushed. And then I start to realize, well, I'm not enjoying it as much as I should be. Because at that point, it just starts to feel like a chore.
Sure.
And I think that's another reason I've been really enjoying it this year too, is because I'm finally realizing like, oh, cycling can be very fun when you're not hammering the whole time because you're trying to get home
Yeah.
for work.
Yeah. That's how I feel when I ride to a group ride. When I ride to an IJAH ride, I'm always mad stressed out. Unless
Yeah.
I leave with plenty of time.
Yeah.
Like knowing that I'll have 20 plus minutes, like when I get to the parking lot.
Yeah.
I on my Garmin, it will tell you like what estimated time of arrival. I'm always looking at that screen on a ride to an IJAH ride, and I like to do it because I want the extra miles or the extra time, but it's always like stressful because I know like, oh, I got to get there,
Yeah.
and I think I've only not made it on time once, and it's because I thought it was 11 miles and it was actually 14, so that's not great. Yeah. That's like a 9-minute swing.
That's kind of a big swing.
Yeah, kind of a big swing. But yeah, it's not fun to add stress to your ride. So if it makes sense to ride later in the day or it makes sense to ride earlier, that seems to sort of be above anything else, right? Like, if it works, it works, and don't. I think for most of us, we don't race. We enjoy riding our bikes. Even people that do race, you still should be enjoying riding your bikes, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to put that sort of pressure on yourself, unless it really does unless you want that pressure on yourself. Like, I'm gonna set out to ride 22 miles in an hour. Hopefully you don't get a mechanical or a flat, but then you're just like, okay, I'm going to hammer before work for an hour and then get home and then go to work, you know? I like to start my day that way sometimes, but yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh no, it's like foggy out, and if I ride too hard, I could slip on a white line, and I'm not going to do that, you know? Like, it doesn't make sense to ride before work. Imagine like, my job is like, I work as a freelancer, you know? So no one's ever guaranteed to hire me. If I one day am like, oh, I crashed on my bike before work, I'm not gonna be able to make it. I'm the guy. I'm the director. I'm the guy in charge on the set. They're gonna be like pissed, you know. You have to sort of weigh that responsibility too, right? Yeah. So, no, I think it's interesting. Everyone obviously fits it into their schedule, but like how much you're pressuring yourself to ride at a certain time of day it's interesting. Yeah.
And I was really worried about cars before, and be like, well, I don't want to go out in the evening, and I'm gonna like catch some of that, commuting time and end of the rush hour time. And I think if you can just plan your ride
on accordingly, roads. Yeah, sure.
For as geographically where you are during those specific times, should be fine. And honestly, this year I've been riding more in the afternoons and evenings, and it's been fine.
Yeah,
it's been totally fine. And I also feel like when people are on their commute, they're rushed.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get somewhere on time. Or in the morning, they're trying to get there on time. And then in the evening, they just want to get home.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't really found that it's any different, or
I just think that's
any worse. Yeah. Like everybody's different in their mental states, and I don't know, maybe they're less actually likely to be like that after work. They maybe have a little bit more patience because they're just
I almost think it's
now I'm free.
You're thinking about other people. I almost think you're thinking about other people's actions too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
Like you can't.
I get too bogged down
by
with that.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
For sure.
But like I can't be. I'm really trying to be better about that. Like I can't be bothered to like. I'm always trying to be my best. I can't be bothered like hoping that other people are their best, Not to say that there aren't times where roads are busier or not, you know what I mean? But like sometimes it's good to just like go out for a ride, like and just not think about anything. Yeah. Even if it's just like not thinking about like your power numbers or whatever, I don't know. We all get in our head so much. I think it's just like part of society, the way that it is. We're looking at our fucking phones, and we're looking at Strava, and we're comparing, and we're like overanalyzing, and there's so much information that it's like analyzing, like it's like when I do care about the wind direction, but then I don't, like, do I care about it too much? Like it's just you're paralyzed by choice almost,
Yeah. The old iPod dilemma.
What do you mean?
Paralyzed by choice.
Oh.
So once everybody got iPods.
Oh. You don't know what to listen to for music, you mean?
Yeah.
Get over here.
Because I could listen to anything.
Yeah.
Anything that I downloaded.
Right. I love that this is the iPod dilemma to you.
It's a Netflix dilemma.
Okay. That's
streaming dilemma.
A little bit better. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Harry obviously wants to get out of this room. Thank you, Brian, for joining me on another episode.
Thank you, John.
Make sure to check out MBX. I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, but every Rhode Islander has to make a season, a summer season trip down to Narragansett. And what better way to top off that trip than to stop at MBX, of course.
Absolutely.
You can go to their shop rides on Thursday nights. They're all at 6:15, like we said. I mentioned the shortest night ride that we're doing. We're riding overnight. That's June 21st, the shortest night of the year. And Sloppy John's is getting closer and is scheduled for Sunday, August 4th. That's a grassroots gravel grinder mostly, even though there is a road route now. So there's going to be like 4 or 5 different route options, and there will be t-shirts for people to buy and patches. I'm going to make about 100 patches, I think, and do something with those. And
wow, patches are cool.
Yeah. And we also, It's Just a Hill has group rides going off just about every Sunday. So you can check that out on our Strava, and itsjustahill.com is our website. And Brian, thank you again. Not only are you here, but you do behind the scenes work on the show, and I appreciate it. Do you have anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I would like to say thank you to the community at large for just being into bikes and also supporting us and showing up to the group rides when you can.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think we're just we're really all doing our part to support
Not all
our
of us.
community? No,
Not all of us.
right. Well,
Most of us could do better, ourselves included.
everyone can do better.
You're being nice, and I'm going to be the advocate of the devil.
But, I just want to thank those that are doing their part.
That's
to,
nice of you. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, there's a lot of
Take
support.
part in events and just even promote positive, atmosphere
Yeah,
in general.
yeah,
I'm for it.
you're right.
I'm here for it.
Thanks. Sorry to be a little bit negative. It's in my nature.
It's okay.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
We are It's Just a Hill, a cycling club that promotes inclusion, judgment-free, with no gatekeepers. Focused on creating content from behind the handlebars to in the studio, It's Just a Hill is producing videos and podcasts to spread the message that cycling is for everyone. We are focused on reminding everyone that riding your bike can help you overcome any obstacle, because after all, it's just a hill.
Decaf left, regular right. Decaf left, regular right. It's very challenging work.